Crazy.
Oh, I would join there. I could take it first. All right. So good.
Do we change the agenda? Yeah, I think so. Dan has. I don't think I was saying. How did we done that?
So do you have enough for this?
Is that the new one though?
I'll have to get that one. I don't know, or salad, or Maggie. I can grab all my stuff. Okay. I guess I should turn on a little bit. I got it.
So, right here.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah,
We ready?
sure.
Okay, should we go?
Welcome to corporate service meetings. We are in closed session, so now we're going to resume into open session. Moved by Paquette, second by Corbett, that the corporate service committee reconvene to open session at
7:06.
7:06. Having received solicitor advice on the draft bylaw. All in favor?
There we go.
I think that's one. That far. What does it say?
There's just a
They're
light.
not following, not hearing anything. That's good.
The presentations delegation. None.
There are none for this meeting
Staff report.
from the public works manager.
She's grabbing.
So the reports from Development Road pulverization. So the recommendation is, whereas the council for the township of Bonfield receives this report and all information contained in it to make an informed decision regarding the remediation of Development Road. This includes the pulverization of development as well as calcium application to the surface afterward. As discussed at previous corporate services meetings, Development Road is in need of immediate attention. The road surface is compromised and has led to large potholes, alligator cracks, washouts, and surface breakage. Staff started to apply cold patch from line 3 to Mount Pleasant this year to fill potholes throughout the road, as the cost of cold mix has risen significantly, approximately $5,000 per tandem load. The Public Works Department decided to spread recycled asphalt that was already in our possession, so there's no cost associated with that, over some of the worst sections of Development Road. Recycled asphalt was dumped on the road, spread with the grader edge to edge, and backdragged with the backhoe. Staff then packed the material with both the backhoe and the tandem plow truck. This practice has helped to rectify some of the potholes and has helped the other throughout the significant rainfall and weather we have received as of late, but is not a long-term fix. Last year, the township applied a double surface treatment from South Shore Road to Line 3's south totaling approximately 4 kilometers of roadway. The surface treatment cost for that area was $333,450 or $11.15 per meter squared. The gravel costs were $173,207 or $5.80 per meter squared. The 2024 operating budget allocated $50,000 for Development Road. Included in this report is the cost breakdown associated with the continuation of Development Road research plan. So using the 2023 cost for resurfacing with a 5% unit cost increase, the total expense for 2025 would be $11.70 per meter squared. The calculations for gravel is based on 2023. Quantities are unknown, so the 2025 costs are subject to change upon tendering, but are calculated for potential future costs of option for 2024 project scope. Council could alternately not surface treat all in 2025, but portion it over 2 or 3 years. A quote was received from Greenwood Paving in relation to the pulverization of Development Road. The quote states 77 cents per meter squared for pulverization, and the breakdown is below. As calcium application on our roads has already taken place, the existing quote received and work completed was done by Pollard. Cost for calcium application is as stated. So from Mount Pleasant to Fisho, you're looking at approximately 4 kilometers of road. So it's about 24,000 meters squared. It's about $18,480. To calcium, that portion is $9,660. So in 2025, your resurfacing treatment costs would be approximately $280,800. And gravel costs approximately $139,200. So your total cost for 2025 is $420,000 for that section. I'll just run through the same thing real quick for each section. So next section is Mount Pleasant to Trout Pond. Once again, it's 36,000 meters squared. 77 cents for pulverization gives you a total of $27,720. Calcium totals $14,490. 2025 resurfacing treatment would be about $421,200, and gravel $208,800, bringing your cost overall in 2025 to $630,000 and $42,210 just for pulverization and calcium. To do the whole section of road from Mount Pleasant to Line 3 South, it was 48,000 meters squared. Price of pulverization $36,960. Calcium for that section $19,320, bringing in a total of $56,280. 2025 resurfacing treatment $561,600. In 2025, possible gravel $278,400, bringing the cost to do the whole thing $840,000. So options for consideration. Council approves the pulverization of the Development Road from Mount Pleasant to Fisho, as well as the application of calcium following pulverization. Council approves the pulverization of Development Road from Mount Pleasant to Trout Pond, as well as the application of calcium following pulverization. Council approves the pulverization of Development Road from Mount Pleasant to Line 3 South, which is end to end where we continued from last year, as well as the application of calcium following pulverization. Council chooses to review the pulverization of Development Road and determine if they want to continue with this project based upon the cost analysis, or council chooses to not continue with the pulverization and calcium application on Development Road and defer until a solution that is agreed upon is discussed. It is suggested that council for the Township of Bonfield approve the pulverization of Development Road and calcium application from Mount Pleasant to Trout Pond based upon the funds available and overall council consensus. It is believed that Development Road can be pulverized before applying calcium edge to edge with minimal to no gravel needing to be applied following pulverization.
Good report. The only thing, so on these numbers, there's no no figuring of excavation on all the bad spots. We have any idea how many meters we'd have to dig out that first section?
I think there's, in the first section, I think it's about
Eight.
8 meters, like in length. But there's 6 possible dig outs, like from line 3 all the way to, Mount Pleasant.
I would have counted a lot more than that, but
That's like, those are just like the main ones.
yeah, because
Like, there are-
there's some
there are some
big
smaller-
sections.
Yes.
That need to be,
Dug back up, and there are some soft spots.
yeah, the
Like at
clay,
bottom of the hills and stuff, you can see the clay coming through the surface.
right.
But that was just the top priority ones, but no, I don't have an overall for every single dig out.
Because I mean, in any of this pricing, we haven't taken in consideration like ditching, like excavating, filling back in with gravel. Like that's gonna add a huge cost to all these numbers.
Right.
These
yeah.
numbers are gonna go way up. I mean, to do it right, I mean, if we just chip seal over top of gravel, we're just gonna end up with the same problems. So I mean, I agree, we should pulverize in a section anyways and get the worst section so we can maintain it with the grader
Right, yeah.
for this year. And then,
And then as well, like with the new excavator and stuff, we can do all that
sure,
work in-house, which
Yeah.
is gonna cut costs, but you're correct, like the gravel costs associated as well as the staff time, like it's gonna add up quick.
yeah,
It's
no,
not a small section of road, so.
no, I agree, we should look into the pulverization and the calcium, and then that gives you a year to ditch that section
And
and
brush it back.
brush it back, ditch it, and then, but we will have to mark all the bad spots before we pulverize or we'll never find them again.
For sure, yeah.
So that's kind of where I would stand on that.
If I can add, when we were going through the capital budget, so in March, we did talk to, I guess it's actually in April, we talked to our engineer and he's actually going through all of development in 2-kilometer increments. We don't have the report yet, but that will give us the details of where the dig outs are, how much we have to dig out and
Right.
what that looks like.
And it would,
We don't have that report yet.
right. I know, I understood. I just,
Mhm.
I mean, these numbers they sound good-ish, as good as but they're gonna climb hard.
Yes. Yeah, and is it still chip seal or will it be hard service? Or will that, we can look at that in 20.
Yeah.
I did reach out today to try and get a couple quotes for like paving. To
Right.
See how much it was. I never got a call back, so I sent a couple emails and left a couple voicemails. I talked to some people, but they wouldn't give any quotes over the phone, so.
Yeah, I mean,
They said like, and I'm sure later this week they'll follow up with some budgetary quotes, but as of this morning, they haven't come back with anything.
So the ditching, that would be done, since we have the new excavator, the ditching that's required on Development Road, is that, we do that in-house?
Yeah, so essentially what we'd like to do first is do the brushing, bring back all the tree line to the backside of the ditch, and then continue with your ditching. And then once we get moving, everything's been moving pretty quick. Like ditching wise, we had 2 trucks in the excavator on Maple last week. And we did I'd say about 500 meters of ditch in front of one of the residents there. And it only took about 4 hours, like complete setup, takedown time and the finish. So that was even with shooting grade the whole time. So the staff have been moving pretty quick with the new equipment, which is nice to see. I know it's a big section of roadway, but if we determine where we want to start and stop, that'll be our top priority for starting brushing and then continuing ditching. And then we can do.
I'm sorry, do we have the brochure already?
Yeah, the brush head got dropped off to the shop last week.
Okay,
It's just, Rob needs to just come and install it, and then he's gonna give the guys a whole tutorial and kind of like a training session on the brush head when he's there, so. But it's not attached to the equipment yet.
thank you.
yeah, good.
So I see recommendation is to pulverize from Mount Pleasant to Trout Pond. But I'm wondering if there's efficiencies to be found and we could actually grade development. Once you got the grader out in development, to go down from Mount Pleasant to line 3.
Correct.
Aren't we
Yeah.
in better shape to actually, at this point, we would like to hard surface it or
Chip
chip seal. But I mean, at least in the interim, we could grade and keep that road in better shape than it currently is, because it's in terrible.
Yeah,
shape
it's not
now.
in very good shape, right?
And we're spending, what, $60,000 a year on
A
cold patch?
that's just getting blown out.
Right, so it would make sense to me, and not that I want to put pressure on this council and probably the next council and maybe the one after that of all the financial pressures of having to resurface it, but I think we actually just have to bite the bullet, in my opinion, and kind of pulverize the entire thing. And then next year, when we're trying to find money to chip seal it, we're not trying to also find money to pulverize the next section. We will have got it at least done. Well, there's somebody out pulverizing.
No, I agree, like, I agree, end to end, and then like, was stated in part of the report, like, we can section it off to do one section at a time with, say, tar and chip or
Sure.
whatever we want to go with.
Yeah.
And then leave the other section, gravel and
Yeah,
just maintain
absolutely.
it, right?
Just as the budget allows.
Yeah, as the
we just
budget
chunk away,
allows,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, start,
And that's the other portion too, is like with the tank on the water truck, if need be to cut costs, like we can mix our own flake and pour it on the road. That it's not going to be anywhere near the same spread as getting pullers to do it edge to edge with like an actual sprayer, but if we have to go that route or touch it up after it's graded, we can do all that stuff in there.
Right.
So there is an advantage to doing from Mount Pleasant right to line 3.
Essentially,
Rather
yeah,
than-
it would kind of nip our problem in the butt. for the
And there's no
meantime.
disadvantage, like if we did it this year and then did sections, the hard surface, the section the following year, there's no disadvantage. It's not going to erode or do anything to the sections that we've already pulverized.
No, I don't believe so. And then with staff maintaining like the road with the grader, as well as we'll be out there ditching and brushing. Like there'll be traffic on the road to pack down the gravel. I can't see anything kind of washing out or really hurting the roadway.
and you're gonna free up a lot of staff time because they're not cold patching,
Yeah.
3 days out of the week.
Exactly.
Could you, and maybe this is really ignorant, or a dumb question, but could you then not actually do some of the dig outs like one at a time as there's opportunity? Like if there's that many dig outs that have to happen, nothing has to say that you get to do a dig out and then instantly put chip seal over it, is there?
No.
No, it just
Yeah.
needs some time to settle and harden up again after.
Right, so you could also chip away at that as resources.
And the positive side of
Yeah.
that is if it is back to gravel, you're not wrecking anything, right? You're
Right.
not having a gap in the roadway where it gets soft and we keep topping it up
Right.
with gravel. So the maintenance side of things makes it a lot easier that way, I think. It's just one of those things, there's a couple steps for the whole program, right? Like brushing, ditching, polarization, maintenance, and then dig outs.
And I think once you get it brushed back and ditched and the berms off the side of the road, the water's gonna flow freely and then, you're solving a lot of problems.
Like where we were at, we're just out in front of 100 Maple, like they've got a creek that runs through their property that's constantly flowing, right? So when we shot it with the laser, there's adequate fall that it is constantly going through the ditch and then going over to the culvert. So we removed the berm on the side of the road as well. So everything should wash right off the ground of the road back into the ditch.
So are we talking then for 2024, instead of 28,000 or 42,000, we're talking 56,280, right? And
That would be end to end line 3. So, and that's without, give or take, like we have that apron at, Rutherglen line that's still paved. I'd like to keep that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
And
good
then
shape.
just go
Yeah.
around it, right? So,
To me, I'd like to see if we chip seal the road, all intersections be asphalted, because that's where they get busted up.
especially with the heavy truck traffic
Right.
that runs through there and turning with their axles down and that sort
Yep.
of thing. right? So,
If we keep it asphalt, then it doesn't bust up, and then the straight stretch, the chip seal seems to work out pretty good.
yeah, there's just that Rutherglen. I don't think there's a reason to fix it. It's not broken and it obviously held up.
Right.
So,
Is there any way to calculate how much we save doing it in-house as well, or?
yeah, there's like, we can put a cost analysis to that. I do know, like this last week working with the excavator, like I know we spoke about fuel costs before and stuff like that. Like today was the first time we filled that thing up and we've got about, say, 20 hours on it, which is crazy. Like it's been working. So it's just kind of nice to see that things are, with everything else, inflation so high, right? Like our in-house costs can come down in small ways, but
Yeah, oh, we're gonna be way cheaper than a contractor, for sure.
Can you speak to the warranty and the work being done on development from last year and what the
so
next steps are?
I reached out today to Duncor in order to after our conversation this morning, I reached out to them asking for a quote. When they don't do paving anymore, they just do microsurface or slurry steel on top. But I tried to follow up with Cindy about when they're gonna be out here. She said that they're working on an MTO project. As soon as that's done, Scott, I guess her manager, is gonna reach out to me and they come back out and finish this road. As for a timeline, I didn't get one. I was told it'd be this year. I know our warranty runs out from when it was done last year, which was September, I believe. So it'll,
But the issue is noted, so our warranty will be.
yeah, no, and like I spoke to them again today. I've reached out in the past few months. I spoke to them at Good Road. So I think if we kind of just stay on top and don't lose our spot in the line, the warranty work will happen. I wish it was quicker, but
Thank you.
Okay.
There is a motion, but it only says right now from Mount Pleasant to Fischel, motion number 6.
Yeah.
So you would have to cross that off.
Question of our CAO, so if we bump this, like you were recommending $42,000 of the work. If it's not gonna be $56,000 of the work. Do we have that somewhere? Are we gonna be able, are we pulling it from another project? How are we able to?
We won't have enough for that throughout the budget, but it will mean that something else will come, but it's minor.
But,
It's only an extra $6,000, so that'll be minor.
so we're the pulverization costs, and then we're not calcining, or is that? We're pulverizing everything and then.
Yeah, sorry.
And calcium, so
And
that's
calcium.
And
56.
calcium, okay.
yeah, that was the
12,000.
total, right? So the pulverization from line 3 to
I thought it was 52.
No, it's
56.
56. So.
Right,
some-
but I have 50 in the budget.
50 was in
Oh.
the budget.
Oh, I see.
So 6,000.
Yeah.
yes.
Oh, mhm.
Great.
So where do we go? Where are we going to?
Motion 6.
Mount Pleasant.
Yeah, Mount Pleasant to line 3.
I think so.
So it'd be line 3 where we
Yeah, left off.
Yeah,
Is everybody good with that?
I think we just gotta get it done. And then we can maintain it. Now it's in our control. You can't maintain pavement.
I mean, I've had a couple phone calls and dealt with some residents who, when you explain it to them, they're not happy about it, but I don't think they realize, like, once the road is maintained and calcium, like, there's sections right now of line 3 that they're hard as asphalt.
Yeah.
Right? And there's no dust. So if we go edge to edge, it'll guarantee there's no dust. So,
Yeah, I'm not happy about it either, but it's kind of what we got in our,
Well, I mean, it's a lot easier on people's vehicles. I mean, like
Yeah.
I live on the road. My vehicle gets beat up all the time. I mean, you're constantly swerving around stuff and,
well, and like you said, every time staff go to fill a hole,
yeah,
we
the
get
cost.
some rain, the truck comes out, next thing you know, the coal patch is all gone, right?
Okay. So moved by Corbett, second by Featherstone. Whereas council has decided to perform work on Development Road from Mount Pleasant to line 3, and whereas the budget of 50,000 was established in the 2024 budget with the exception of deferred revenues and revenues in the amount of approximately 600,000 would be used in 2025 to surface treat the project area that the Corporate Service Committee recommends that the pulverization and dust control road work on Development Road be completed in 2024 from Mount Pleasant Road to line 3. All in favor? Carried.
do you have a time frame on that? Now that it's passed? Like, what are you doing tomorrow? No, I'm just like, I'm wondering,
No,
like, just when
I'm
can
gonna
people
reach out
expect
to
the work?
Greenwood tomorrow
Yeah.
morning. They've been really.
They're,
good with it.
yeah,
Yeah, I think,
know they're in the area. They were just over in East Paris.
Yeah.
When I called, they were more than happy to come back over. So I think now if the road section's gone from 4K to 8K, they'll be a little quicker to come. So
sure.
it's quite like, it is quite a big section. So.
No,
'cause
it
the whole
is.
road's about 12.2 K, just past South Shore.
But I
So-
mean, it's, it's a straight enough road that they're gonna chew through that, no problem.
Oh, for sure, especially with that pulverizing.
Right.
It'd be great just to get some communication, because as much as I'd like.
No,
to,
and
everybody's
that's-
watching us
yeah,
on
that's-
YouTube, it's probably not
As,
happening.
as soon as I know, I'll let you guys know.
Yeah.
We can put out a public message.
Yeah, I mean, and I think, a good thing for social media, as much as I don't like social media, but the picture you sent with the excavator ditching,
Mhm.
we should get that out there and show.
Yeah, that was great.
It was great. I mean, that's what we need to get out there.
And I will say, like, since some residents have driven by that section, like, we've got a lot of phone calls to come do inspections of their property and their ditches and that sort of thing. So,
And
I
everyone's
mean,
happy.
yeah.
People's money at work is what's happening there. It's good.
Okay, and then, B, steel rails request for a subcommittee.
Right, so steel rail presented at the council meeting, last week. They're all kind of merging all together. So in February of this year, council did pass a motion, if I can read it, that would be okay. That whereas council of the township of Bonfield understands the importance of the heritage and culture of the township regarding the rich railway history that developed. What is now known as the Township of Bonfield, and whereas a not-for-profit committee will be formed to preserve the history of Bonfield as well as to celebrate our heritage through objectives and goals of the committee. Therefore, the planning administrator will represent the Township of Bonfield as a liaison on the committee to report back to council. So that's what we passed in February, and then they did come to speak about being a subcommittee underneath council. But they are nonprofit, they're gonna be a nonprofit organization. So it's not really appropriate for it to be an ad hoc committee of council, because they will be nonprofit. But we did pass a resolution that the planning administrator could attend their meetings and then report back to council.
So was that not called, there's gonna be two committees for or no? There was
No, just the one
steel
now.
rail and then, okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, they couldn't use the first Spike name because someone else has that name, so they are called now the Steel Rails.
Okay.
So we have no other nonprofit subcommittees. do we?
No, no.
No,
This would be much like the seniors housing. They're not for profit,
Yeah.
they're at arm's length, they do their thing. We just are in the periphery providing support where
well,
we
it's a little
can.
different because we've underwritten the,
Well, but until then, it was still an arm's length.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Then I guess we don't know how much time they're gonna need with it.
No. They seem to have a very ambitious plan and on the activity that they want to do, so it'll be implementing that, but
And I think that for us, it's no cost to the township, right? So that has to be pretty clear. We'll do whatever we can to assist, or, we might have lands or mural space or things like that, but not,
right. Yeah. Is an objection.
There would be cost to the township if Anne would be the representative there.
Right.
That would be the only cost,
okay.
but this is to do with our heritage. As well as I think we have nothing here with respect to economic development in our municipality. That might be something that they would bring forward, tourism or people into our community. I know we don't have a lot of businesses, but we do have businesses here and that may support it. So I certainly could support I don't know if I should say this, but I can support our planner to be on there.
Oh, yeah.
She's
Yeah.
quite
Yeah.
familiar with our municipality, and as long as everybody else is agreeable, and looks like we already passed the motion,
did.
so
Yeah.
And
I could certainly support
so
that.
that would include our planner who's excellent at grant writing. Like if there is funding that they can get, we could help with that, filling out applications or,
Oh, yeah, I think so.
yeah.
I think
So I
that's
think that
appropriate.
would be the benefit of having someone like, and on
Yeah.
being the liaison, right? So that if there is grants or funding out there from different organizations or different levels of government even, that we could assist with that and, just keep our ears open too, so, because we are connected. So if that comes up, that would be helpful, I think.
Well, I think would be similar to your position on the housing. You report back, and I think that would be the same thing if possibly not be with all of their meetings because they're quite they're quite free with their time.
Yeah,
And but if their official meeting, maybe each month, then Anne could report back to us
Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
happening.
yeah.
And
yeah,
that's gonna
yeah.
happen through business hours, those meetings?
I don't know when they have their meetings. Right.
It's kind of a,
Mhm. So hopefully they will have meetings that will be during the day. So we'll let them know that that would be,
right.
yeah.
Well, that's the only way we can really
Yes,
provide
yeah.
staff support at this point, right?
They have been here for meetings during our business hours. So I do think that's very feasible.
Okay, great.
All right, so moved by Featherstone, second by Corbett, whereas council adopted motion 6 on February 27, 2024, to appoint the planning administrator as a liaison for council and the Steel Rail nonprofit organization. Now therefore, the council confirms that the nonprofit would be eligible as a subcommittee of council. Further, that the council for the township of Bonfield reaffirmate its desire to work with the historical group with the planning administrator as a liaison to the organization, to their organization. All in favor?
Well,
Wait,
Did-
hang on.
did you
Yeah.
say they
Yeah,
would
you
be?
would or would not?
What's that?
Are they gonna be a subcommittee or are they
Yeah,
not gonna be a subcommittee?
No, they're gonna be a subcommittee.
No,
No.
no, they're
It
not.
says that it's a nonprofit would not be eligible
Oh.
as a subcommittee.
Yeah,
Oh, not.
Would not be, okay, would not be eligible.
Okay, good,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I
All
heard
in
would
favor?
be.
Yeah.
Carried. Number 8 or number C, open air burning. So, do you want me to just read the motion or we?
Because there's blanks for you guys.
Moved by Paquette, second by Featherstone, that the Corporate Service Committee recommends to council that a campfire permit is mandatory to ignite campfire within the township. And further, that the permit should be valid for, I mean,
the ownership of
The lifetime of the
property.
ownership of
Yeah,
property.
of the property, I think so.
what Dan's writing, we're gonna have,
That
Oh.
was
yeah, something ready to go that when the moment somebody comes in for a permit, they're gonna sign rules and regulations for having a fire that they understand.
There's an application in the bylaw.
and we keep track of who's come in and,
Mhm.
right, so.
and further, the cost of the permit should be.
Zero.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
I'm fine with
Zero,
zero.
too.
all in favor? I was,
Steve?
So there's-
I don't need a recorded vote over it.
Oh, yeah, call opposed.
Not dying on that hill.
Yeah. Oh, if you wanted to comment.
follow up from the June 25th, 2024 council meeting.
Okay. I have a presentation if you guys. Bear with me for a moment.
I didn't write on anything yet, eh?
You can't say that.
Are we doing, what are we starting with? We're starting
Well, I
with
think we're just
No, they can't.
Short-term rentals. Oh, start with short-term rentals.
trailer bylaw, okay.
So this is not showing the same as this.
No, got whatever one they give me.
You the trailer too. You open it from that reason.
Well, I think it's just a little. I never felt so lucky. It shouldn't work. Okay, so I may have to sit here.
That's fine.
If you want one of these, so you can see what order you have.
Yeah, I can see from here. Okay, so Jan. It's not playing. Riverside. This is a local, this is why we are doing a license. Some of the comments that did come out. This is one in a neighboring municipality. Council regarding principles, when we were considering to allow short-term rentals or not, we're concerned, most concerns expressed fit into one of these guiding principles at a previous corporate services meeting. We went through and categorized them. On June 25th, 2024, at the regular council meeting, we had 14 residents provide comments through either presentations or through letters to council regarding short-term rentals, and 3 presentations or letters regarding the trailer bylaw. 1 additional letter was also submitted from a presenter. There were common themes as we went through and watched the meeting again, went through our notes. There were some common themes evident through the concerns and the comments spoken in either support or for or against the draft bylaw. You can start with trailers and RVs. So grandfathering subsection 34(9) of the Planning Act provides that no zoning bylaw will apply to a lawful non-conforming use as long as the property, building, or structure continues to be used for the purpose for which it was lawfully used when the zoning bylaw was enacted. And then there's another section from the building code as well. So trailers and short-term rentals are not specifically allowed in our bylaws currently. So without a permitted use, they can't be grandfathered. And specifically for trailers, there's actually a bylaw that was done in 2018 that did prohibit trailers from being on vacant lands. So the draft bylaw is actually loosening that bylaw, the rules on trailers. But because they were never allowed before, then they can't become legal non-conforming and they can't be grandfathered. Really trying to figure out how to get this done. One of the other comments was the themes around, crown camping versus vacant land. So when you're on crown land, there's the 21-day rule for camping. There's a link on this, but if you go there, there's also, a section about all of the rules that you have to follow to be on a crown land to camp. A lot of them are leave no trace principles. Some of them were for the waste, whereas you have to pack out in any burning waste. Burning waste isn't an acceptable option. Washing dishes more than 60 meters from the water, that goes for showering or anything else. There are some pretty tight rules on human waste when you are camping. And then filtering and packing up food waste. So again, you can't burn the food waste, you pack it back out. Provincially governed, so these aren't, it's up to the province to enforce these rules. But they do have these rules, and I think responsible campers and those that really truly love camping and the environment, they generally follow these rules. Some of the trailers have holding tanks that may fill up within the 21 days, and it must be managed and accounted for to ensure the appropriate disposal. And then gray water is still regulated by the North Bay Mattawa Conservation Authority for the township of Bonfield. So I think that was what we saw for the trailers. I don't know if you have any comments.
So, thanks for pointing out the fact that we have an existing bylaw. It's in our zoning bylaws that says no trailers, and we also have outside of the zoning bylaw, we have a bylaw that says, an existing bylaw that says there are no recreational trailers allowed on vacant property. So what we're trying to do is strike a balance to say, if you're in a really rural area, if you can meet the setbacks, that's fine. So we're loosening the existing bylaw, except what's being presented out there, or what I'm getting feedback is somehow we are tightening it and we're becoming the bad guys on this. I guess the question is, why do we not, let's just do nothing. Let's leave the existing bylaw in place and leave it to staff to enforce. I mean, it's, I guess, are we wasting our time and resources trying to, and wearing this from the community to say that somehow we're the bad guys that we're, but it's, they're all legal, they're all non-conforming now to existing bylaws. So that, like, it's
So
the
we can do
messaging
nothing.
issue. It's the messaging issue for me. That is the challenge that I think people are misunderstanding, that if you have a trailer on a piece of property now, it is not legal. It was not legal. It is not legal. So it's an enforcement issue, honestly, versus what we're trying to do is actually put in parameters to say it can be legal in certain areas of the community, and we will put in that bylaw. So that's the challenge that I have is, I would hope that we would be able to continue to communicate with people that we're actually trying to make this a looser bylaw than what is there now. So I guess that's more of a comment than a question. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I like the path that we're going on this. I think, some people have properties that they could have a trailer and not really impede on neighbors or anything like that, especially with how we're setting it up. I think it's a good program to start with, but we're definitely taking a lot of slack over trying to make it right?
Your worship.
I'm not altogether sure. One thing, I have concerns about the trailers that are on our lakes. If they're not equipped with septic and all of those rules are in order, that part concerns me for sure. As far as trailers out in the rural area, the residential area, right, and we have two residential areas, which are the two hamlets. And I believe that they're not allowed in the residential area, but the rural area, I wouldn't want to see trailers permanently there, but I know that the people who come in are building their homes. Some of them are living in trailers, bringing the trailer in. I see a lot on Trunk Road where the gentleman brought in his trailer. He was immediately told, you can't have the trailer there, you get it off. He says, I have not decided where I'm gonna put my home. I just purchased the property and I'm here. So the rules were given to him, and I understand there's no trailers out there. But now he picked up his trailer, left, and for the last 2 or 3 months, there's a lot there with no home on, no trailer on, nothing on. Probably paying property tax for vacant land. So I can't see, it was his intention to get a building permit, but not right today. I want to see where I'm putting my home. I think we have to be reasonable with that. And people are of the opinion, and I'm pretty sure they've got it straightened out, that you can't bring your trailer on your own lot. You have to pay for it. That's not the way it is. And I believe I asked staff to put something on our site to say, no, that's not a problem. If you're bringing your RV or your trailer on your property, it's just if you're going to stay in it on vacant land. And one thing, we have to have rules. We do have to change that bylaw, because it says, the bylaw previously says no trailers, right? So it's difficult to please everybody. What can we do to put something together that there are rules and people abide by them? And we're not going to satisfy everyone. I can say that, but maybe people could live with the rules that we put together. And then we have to have somebody enforce it. Right now, we don't have a bylaw enforcement officer.
Well,
We have a building
We do now,
official,
yeah.
but we have a building official, but he has a job and is on his own with, I think there's 5 new homes going up Development Road. So I don't know. I think I want to see a bylaw, but I want to see one that, like I said, not everybody's going to be happy with it, but maybe everybody could live with it.
Yeah, so I asked the question facetiously, probably just trying to make the point of, listen, there is a current bylaw. What we're trying to do is loosen it, and we're wearing it from the community. Like, we are the ones that are tightening this, but in fact,
if it was enforced.
yeah, so I am in favor of the rural areas having trailers as long as it meets setbacks that we set. I think it's very clear to everybody, I'm not in favor of trailers on our waterfronts. I actually think it's terrible planning for our municipality we collect what on average for a lakefront property that has no assessed value on it other than vacant property, $600,
No.
$700-800. Yeah, $2,000, as opposed to what would be if it had an assessed house on it, like an appropriate level of taxation to be able to run a municipality. Like, that's where I think it doesn't make sense that we continue to have prime pieces of property in our community that should have a house built on it if that's what the owner would like to do, and be able to collect the appropriate level of taxes based on whatever assessed value for the size of house or cottage or what have you that they put up there. But then it would be appropriately permitted. It would actually go through appropriate assessment. It would have all of those stages happen. That is smart planning for the municipality.
So, sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
So the question is, the trailers, the RVs that are on the waterfront or anything, anywhere for that matter, it's vacant land, right? Is that it? Because you can't tax trailers.
Right.
So-
Yeah, it's assessed as vacant land.
Pardon?
It's assessed as vacant land.
Yeah,
So right now you can have, sorry, if I can just clarify that point. So if you have a property with a primary dwelling on it, you can have a trailer on it, you can
Sure.
use that trailer. And that's not under this bylaw. So there is no licensing fee for it. It's just, yes, of course you can use it or you can store it
And
on your
store it,
property.
yeah.
It's your property. You
Yes.
have a house, you're not living in it. But these trailers are just for the rural area with vacant land.
Go ahead, Dawn.
So, I have a question. The current, bylaw says that you can have a trailer if you're going to build, if you have a building permit, correct?
I don't believe
Yeah.
zoning says it.
Yeah, so the gentleman, if he was going to get a building permit and was working on it, he could have his trailer there while he figured out where he went, and I think it specifies a time, if I'm
18 months.
18 months, so he can have it for 18 months and live in the trailer while his house is being built.
But he
Not
has to also apply for the building permit,
Yeah.
right?
Yes,
So number one, you have to know where you're gonna put your building
right,
and what you're gonna put
right,
there.
so we could probably forgive him some time, knowing that he's going to do that, right?
How do you, yeah, I guess the question
Yeah.
is like where, so now we're into a gray zone,
Yes.
right? So how does staff enforce that? So if we can figure out maybe it's an intent to build, I don't even know if that's
Well,
the
like-
thing.
I guess
Like-
if he's got okay, in that scenario, he's had, if he's got plans drawn up and, he's going through all the motions.
Right,
Then we
yeah.
can look at an extension.
But the new proposed bylaw will eliminate that in the
Right.
rural areas.
Yeah, but right, and he would be in a rural area, probably, right, so that would be, he would actually be permitted a trailer. So, but if
Without
we
the trailer.
walk through this in a hamlet, somebody's gonna build a house in the hamlet, somebody wants to put their RV on there while they're building. I guess the question, and I understand where you're going, and I wanna try and figure out a way to support somebody, be like, I need to figure out where on the property I wanna put my, but is it 2 years it's gonna take him to
Yeah.
figure out where he wants, like, how much time? do we
No,
have? How
that's
do we
possible,
monitor
but
it?
he's not gonna leave his trailer there for 2 years, He'll probably take it back where he came from. But I'm just saying, we have to be reasonable with the people that
Yeah,
are
yeah.
coming in here to build. If people
Absolutely,
bought it, if they bought $100,000, $50,000 for a lot, I'm pretty sure their idea is they're gonna build a house, right?
well, not,
Oh.
how many trailers have we seen
Yeah.
not conforming with our current bylaw, right? So,
We have a lot.
And so, sorry, I remember us passing a motion, and I think that we do have a bylaw officer. So I think that, he's a building official and the bylaw officer and one other,
Property
and
standards.
property standards. Remember, we passed those 3 motions, for the staff. So we do have a bylaw officer.
I understand that,
Okay.
I've been told.
Yeah. Sorry, I just wanted to clarify that, that's all.
I see that pretty minor compared to putting the houses up,
Yeah,
but that's okay.
So, yeah, I mean,
yeah, so I guess I crossed my mind that we should just let it be, and now that, we once again have a bylaw officer, we just enforce what's current.
so that'll mean that there'll be no trailers anywhere.
yeah, I mean, I honestly have no issue if somebody has chunk of property on Grand Desert or Trunk Road, or they're in a rural area and they wanna, sure, like that is the balance for me, and we live in a smaller rural municipality, I'm fine with that. But, don't do it in the hamlet and don't do it on the water, those are my 2 kind of
Yeah, I mean,
lines that I draw.
I guess when we looked at the trailer bylaw, like, we looked at the surrounding areas for. Yeah, I mean, cause there's a whole lack of rules, like there's licensing if you're on the water, it's so much more than if you're in the rural, and I mean, do we start venturing that way, or like, do we leave it the way we have it, or do we go back to the old? Where we're enforcement,
So I honestly think our trailer bylaw is super simple. I don't think people are really complaining about the things that we've put in. I think it is, like Jason alluded to, a bit of a messaging thing. I think people are misconstruing what the intent is. So if we maybe simplify the wording a little bit, put out some posts. I like where we're going with it. The alternative is to just hold up the bylaw that we have now, and we're just gonna send our bylaw officer to 1,200 homes this year to knock on doors and issue citations. Like, doesn't seem practical whatsoever. I think giving people the opportunity to to pay for a license and to do it legit, I think will solve a lot of issues.
I do as well, but there will be a certain amount of enforcement on the other side that will have to be done as well. So if this is what we want, rural only, then, you know, there's gonna be, and we have to treat everyone the same, right? If this is a regulation that goes through, then everyone needs to be treated fairly and the same according to the bylaw.
And if I remember correctly, we talked about like putting in like a time frame to be like,
Yeah.
listen, it's not, your trailer has to be off in the next 4 weeks. Like it could be in the fall. Like we'll give people time to make sure that they can make arrangements, so they can continue with summer plans this year if that's what they have currently happening, and then go into.
I think, Councillor Clark, I think that the bylaw officer would be very, very busy if we stay with the current bylaw, because there's no trailers. So
I
I
agree.
think that we have to look at our trailer bylaw and hope that everybody can live with it. If there's, I think we should have a good look at it and see if there's anything that we should amend, and then I would like to be prepared to pass it.
And I think, much like, you know, we should fine tune it and then send it to the lawyer and have him go over it and go from there.
I agree.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm for loosening it as well.
Oh, yeah.
Just,
Yeah, I think we all are,
Yeah.
or else we wouldn't be
Yeah.
here at this point.
It's just, it got, you know, taken out of context that we're tightening things.
It's difficult to know that you're making the right decision, but I think we're all on the same page that
I think so.
we should have it, because we'd want to say absolutely no trailers. So let's look at our bylaw, and if there's anything we have to change, I can agree with
So are
that.
we gonna just stick with this one? Moved by Corbett, second by Featherstone, that the Corporate Services Committee recommends to council the following amendments should be made to the trailer bylaw, vacant land. Or are we gonna,
There were no changes, other than you can just say, please send it to, or instruct staff to forward it to the lawyer to review.
Yeah, let's send it. I'm in favor of sending it in its current form to the legal, and let's just get legal opinion, and then,
I like the work we've done with it.
yeah, me too.
okay, and then we'll just send it to legal and see if,
Did you say?
I just said that I like the work that we've done with it. I like
Okay.
how it is currently.
all in favor? Carried.
I should announce.
You're leaving now?
oh, yes, can I leave?
Yes.
Thank you.
Hey. This motion, or you run through this slide?
Yeah, I can approve
Okay.
that if you want. I'm sorry, it's so awkward. Okay, so let me get into the short-term rental comments that we did have. So the first one, the first theme was about the survey results. So the concept of the community survey was to gather community feedback. It was not intended to be a majority vote for decisions. So all perspectives must be considered. So for a definitive answer, there was a statistical confidence level applied in the answers that were back and forth. This was one of the many research methods used to help council draft the bylaw. We also consulted with other municipalities to determine the lessons learned and the best practices. We reviewed 18 other bylaws and attended training and education sessions with the ministry and other housing agencies that led us to some of the policies that are in the draft. A lot of local municipalities are still weighing in on the short-term rentals, and some are actually following our progress and curious for what we are doing, on here, I do have a list of the ones that we did consult with and we did speak to. The survey and the research that we have. Another theme was on the insurance, and then our current bylaw requires the $5 million. And that it was difficult to obtain. So the intent of the 5 million is to ensure there's adequate protection for both the township as the licensed insurer and the property owner as the renter. Personal liability cases are having higher payouts, and 5 million is the new standard when we go out to tender and we ask for insurance on any of our projects. It's a minimum of $5 million. And if we do reduce it, maybe there's mechanisms in there that would allow us to be and identified like so that we're a third party insured potentially. I can let our planning administrator speak to the research she did in calling insurance brokers, but
I called several insurance companies actually today. So first of all, we can't get a definitive answer as to how much more it would cost to get 5 million as opposed to 2 million, because there's just so many variables when it comes into your insurance. And we did ask about the $5 million coverage. It would have to be a commercial entity that would be applying for 5 million. 2 million is the norm for most house insurance policies. However, most of the insurance companies call SDRs a business. So mostly home ownership policy wouldn't apply to a short-term rental. So in my conversations, I think that the insurance companies are in the same position townships are in. Everybody's kind of, it's all so new that nobody really has an answer to that, except they did answer about the 5 million and the 2 million. 5 million is more commercial related than 2 million would be for a house policy.
Sorry, did I understand, did you say that in your research and conversations that residential policies currently don't cover short-term rental?
House policies are for the principal dweller.
Right,
So there's like it depends what company you spoke to. Some would let you rent your premise for 60 days, some would be 90 days.
cumulatively or?
They didn't say accumulative, we didn't
Right.
get into that depth. So you were permitted to do that. But then there is like long-term rental, that's what they call, like it wouldn't be any bearing as a business. Like say you had your cottage and you let your family use it for 30 days or 90 days, up to 90 days. But they said that their normal house policy insurance would not cover short-term rental as a norm for the home. It would have to be a commercial entity. So they call it a business through insurance eyes. So that was the discussion with the insurance companies today.
and an Airbnb.
Right, oh, and we looked at Airbnb actually, so if anyone uses the platform Airbnb, there's an insurance program called Air Cover. So they provide $3 million for the host to be covered, so if they have a guest and someone steals their furniture or ruins the inside of the house, they have their boat and they smash it up. They had 3 million coverage for that through Airbnb and 1 million liability insurance for the guest. However, they do state in their disclaimer that should be a backup insurance as opposed to having your own insurance. So that it was offered through that, and Verbo had 1 million liability only as part of their, as you know, Airbnb charges the host a fee for so I'm assuming part of that fee is that insurance coverage.
Oh, anybody gets it if you're.
Every host
Oh,
is
that's
free,
great.
yes.
Okay.
Through Airbnb,
Right.
yes. I don't want to say everybody.
Another theme was on private roads, so we had several comments by residents who live on the private road, so the maintenance and the insurance implications were a concern for them. We are seeking legal opinion on what that looks like for us and the impacts to the township. But we generally, we have no jurisdiction on who travels across a private road. As it is right now, they're private roads, so we have we don't have any jurisdiction actually. So
So if there's a dispute, it's basically a neighbor dispute, right, on private roads?
Right. Yeah, so I think we've come to learn that if there's a right of way, everyone who is on a private road would have some sort of right of way or easement. And then that right of way would allow them to travel across that road. If there's any encumbrances on it that specifically say you can't have commercial uses on the road, if that's in the registered right of way. Trying not to use acronyms, but if it's on the right of way, well, then that would be for the private road association to deal with, because we really don't have jurisdiction.
So I guess it's up to the landowner to find their deed and see if they have titled
Correct,
access over private, like on the laneway, right?
right. Or those that were concerned, look at their right of ways to see if there are any encumbrances on it that would prevent it.
Right, okay.
Yeah, prevent a different use. There is concerns for the environment, regarding the proximity to natural sensitive areas. So we currently do have policies in the official plan and the zoning bylaw that speak to this, like you have to have setbacks from any of the water's edge, or if you're going to develop within a constrained area, you do get a permit through the North Bay Manawatu Conservation Authority. Again, we're saying this is a house. So if you're building a house, we're looking at all of that when that house is being built. So there's no other use for somebody else to come in and rent your house if you're not changing that development footprint and rent. So I think that our policies do have that well covered. The licensing fee at $1,500. So Bonfield, our proposed is $1,500. Bracebridge is also $1,500. Romero has an annual fee of $3,000. They do hire a company, and that's their cost for the company to manage the short-term rentals in Romero. And then West Nipissing is $750 with a renewal of $250. East Ferris is $750 for 3 months or $1,000 for 5 months. Killarney is $1,400, and then a re-inspection fee of $400. The city of North Bay is $600 with a renewal of $275. So our license fee is to cover the inspections, the administration fees, as well as the bylaw enforcement costs. So with building inspection, there would be two inspections. On average, we think that will be what's needed at $300. A fire inspection is $150 to process the application. All of the staff time is $150. And then enforcement and administration would be around $900. So the enforcement and admin fees include the file search, compliance with the regulations, the third-party contacts that we have to just to confirm the application material that we get. And then what we can consider, like what are other different fees based on or classes, or possibly there's an option for renewal fees if you wanted to look at that. And then have a
Mr. Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
can I ask, CEO, the licensing fees and the difference of Bonfield and comparable to the city of North Bay is, city of North Bay is $600 and renewal $275. Do you know what time period that is for? And how do we justify 1,500 with a population of 2,000 people, 2,100 people, and the city of North Bay 600 with their population of 54,000? How would we justify our fees and compare to their $600 fee?
And I don't know the timeline for North Bay, and I don't know any of your
I think
research.
it's, I believe it's 3 years.
Pardon?
Don't quote me on it.
Is theirs for the year?
Right, so if you go to the city of North Bay, you pay your $600 license fee, and this is why we're having this discussion, because it's for the corporate services to determine. The city of North Bay had about $600, and I believe it's for 2 or 3 years. Because you don't have to do the inspection process, you don't get a re-inspection only every 3 years. So the renewal would be $275. So you don't have to, because the CBO is not going out there to re-inspect, you already know they're in compliance, etc. So you don't have to charge for that inspection fee yearly if you did a renewal fee.
And I don't know the parameters and what that $600 covers in
Yeah, it
fees.
doesn't really. say
So
there.
their bylaw may not have the same policies and structure as our bylaw. So their bylaw may be simpler, that it doesn't require as much staff time to process.
Yeah, that was gonna be, good. That was gonna be my question. So in our, the staff recommendation is $1,500 in the current bylaw. As it reads. If council decides that sections of that bylaw will not apply, so let's say well, I don't know if we address the inspections or if we loosen any of that, we could potentially then look to reduce the cost of licensing as well, because there'll be less staff time.
Yes.
Right, okay, that's good, thanks.
It'll take some time after the official passing of the bylaw as to really know what the cost is going to be to the municipality. And saying that, I don't want to say, well, okay, we want the top $1,500 and that's what we're going to go with. I don't want to see it costing the township, but I don't want to see it costing the people that are trying to do a business or make a business. There's very little places to stay in our municipality. There's one motel, and other than that, and I am not aware of the short-term rentals at all. I don't even know of one because I don't know that there is. I understand there's possibly 34. And I think that's good if there's accommodation here for people that people can go to the homes, but I just don't want to see us making it more difficult when there may possibly be places for people to stay when they come to our township to visit.
I don't disagree with you, actually. I think, like, I'm in favor of having short-term rentals in the community. I just want to make sure that we're doing it in a responsible way. So making sure that we, sure there's a licensing fee. Let's make sure that there's a responsible person within 45 minutes or whatever it is that we end up saying. Let's make sure that, our bylaw officer is busy in enforcing all of the other bylaws that we currently have that would support healthy short-term rentals. That's the fire and noise and all of those other things that we currently have. So I think let's see. I think it's worth the conversation to. It'd be interesting to get some legal advice on this for sure and figure out where we land on how far we go down the road of inspections and what have you. So
It's a great segue into the next one.
Okay, right
So one of the other themes was about the inspection. So we have put in the fire inspection, so visitors are not familiar with the house. So we want to ensure that there's a fire safety plan. If you go to a hotel, it's on the back of the door, there's a fire safety plan. So it's just to ensure those safety things, like the smoke and the CO detectors. Building inspections, so there's many different visitors. It's different than a long-term rental where it's the same person who again becomes familiar with the house, knows where everything is. This is the public, so they're not familiar. They're not going to know how everything in that house operates. Health and safety is maintained. And then of course the long-term renter also has that interaction between the landlord and the tenant. And then the occupancy is given for one family, not a family every weekend. So when we give that out, the legislation, there is legislation for landlord and tenants. There's legislation for the innkeepers and there's an accommodation act as well. There's also other legislation out there for motels, hotels, and other touristic and camping establishments that deal with accessibility, drinking water, the building codes. None of that is in place for short-term rentals. Which serves the same service, the same type of business. Wonderful economic development for the community, absolutely. But there are no rules that bind them to behave the same. But with that, I will have the CBO. He has a little bit more information on the inspections as well.
So, under the Ontario Building Code, if you own a house, you may do the following without having to obtain a building permit, change the use or upgrade a house. So you can rent your house to a person or family. And you can also rent your up to 4 bedrooms to separate individual in your house if you reside in the 5th bedroom. So those are the limitations of what the building code calls house, right? So if you exceed those limitations, then you move into a different class of occupancy, which could be rooming, boarding, and lodging, or an apartment building. And then that invokes building permits for fire separation, exits. So it's really not attainable. So you have to stay within the limitations of house.
All right, thanks.
So the next thing was by law enforcement resources. So one of the objectives is to have a responsible person, or responsible ownership, and the dedicated responsible person is intended to meet this obligation. So they take the place of that accommodation front desk manager. That's what that person is for. It's the first point of contact for neighbors if there are any concerns with the tenants, and they're expected to resolve any concerns within 45 minutes. The OPP should be called for any backup or escalated situations, and the bylaw officer will be and should be made aware of any situations that do occur. And then they can get recorded on that license as well. Or then this position is not the first point of contact for any complaints. But however, we do have our municipal emergency phone call system for after hours that we will have access to. And then about that responsible person. So one of the themes for allowing the short-term rentals is to make the owner responsible for the tenants. It should not be up to the municipality and the OPP to police the tenants. Undoubtedly, there will be some issues that we have to address with the owner and the tenants, the responsible person. The Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act allows the township to post persons responsible on our website as it relates to a business. So this has been proven that our bylaw does require that they would have to designate that person. We would put that on our community mapping system. And then a neighbor could call that person. And that's the first point of contact. So there was concerns that that was a breach of freedom of information, but it is not.
Because it's considered a business, so that's,
Correct.
it's not a private.
Under the
it's not-
act. It's
yeah.
There was another one about the guest list, if I can go back to, so the guest list. I mean, for our intents and purposes, we don't need to necessarily have the names and, the dates, but we want to know who came. Again, it's about economic development, but who came to the community, how long they were here, how many people stayed in there. So we just want that summary of the registry. That's kind of what we need for our municipal purposes. It helps with economic development as well as controlling the short-term rental to ensure that each renter did comply with the policies in the short-term rental. But we don't need to know names. And then there was also a concern on the class of licenses. So Class A is a principal dwelling. So if it's the same dwelling, they occupy 1 bedroom with a shared kitchen. I think we started to talk about that a little bit with our CBO. Bed and breakfast are different than short-term rentals because bed and breakfast actually, like, you stay in the room and you have to provide a meal. That's the definition for the bed and breakfast. So a principal dwelling means the owner resides on the same property as the short-term rental. And I think this needs to be unpacked a little bit, because if you have a duplex and it's built, it's a duplex, it's a legal duplex. Currently, the way it is in our bylaw that they have to live in the same dwelling unit and have it in the bedroom. So we may have to look at that, what that definition looks, because if you want to rent out your basement or rent out that second half, that would be under Class A. So we just need clarification on where that might land.
So from the last meeting, so the rustic escape, they don't fall under like a short-term rental, like they're zoned golf course, I think.
Right, we have a special zone, yeah.
So, and I understand that council, the mayor and deputy mayor has met with her and staff has met with them to get them on the right track. So like I said, I don't know, last meeting, she doesn't fall under short-term rental. So I just want to be clear on that. Like, so hers is a zoning, that property is a zoning thing. It's not a short-term rental.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. The planning administrator and the CBO did meet, so I'll let the two of you guys explain what that.
It's more like a C3 zone. Their property fits the C3 zone to a T, like the tourist establishment, like they have the petting zoo and they have several short-term rentals on the property, not just one short-term rental. So they can fall and they like doing the off-grid with the tents, etc. So there is a perfect fit for them in a zoning application, and they wouldn't fall underneath the umbrella of short-term rental. It's more like a tourist / campground /
But staff has been working with them
Yeah,
to
we've
point,
been
get
working
them
with
going
them.
the right direction.
Perfect.
Perfect. That's,
Yeah, may I respond to that? Councillor Corbett and I did meet with the individual, and all we discussed was about the short-term rental. We didn't go into the facts about what was there. I did see on Facebook that they were having a big day up there, and so I just do the same as I do anytime when I see, oh, there's something going on here, anybody can come, and I went there. So that's how I found out everything that was there. We didn't discuss it the day that the lady come in here to speak to us. We just spoke mainly. Councillor Corbett spoke.
Yeah.
And we did, I listened, and we just talked about the short-term rental. We didn't talk about anybody's personal building or what they were doing.
Yeah.
So then I understand that our building official and
bylaw.
enforcement officer went over to the building, to the home, and as well as our planning planner went there, and whatever transpired, I'm not.
Yeah, no, but
I
I
don't
mean,
know
staff
that.
has been working with them
Yeah.
from what I gathered.
Well, I'm
and-
fine that staff's
Yeah.
working with them. We just had a conversation. That's.
And I
Well,
guess,
I think the process was perfect. That like she got in touch with actually Mayor Paquette, who asked me to also attend the meeting. She discussed her concerns. We had a good conversation. We also asked her to reach out to CAO Kunkel, because really lots of that has to happen at staff level. But we made a commitment to say, hey, listen, like obviously we appreciate the work you do in the community. We want to make sure that we can be supportive in any way we can. And I think that's what we've heard. So I appreciate the process that unfolded. I think it actually, I hope what they're feeling is support from the municipality, because obviously what we're trying to do is respect the work that they're doing there and seeing how we can do our part to support it. So,
and I guess the other thing, I mean, the statement was made that just the mayor showed up. Well, if you're gonna invite council, either
I'll interrupt that. She didn't invite council. I read on Facebook that they were having a do that day, and I went there.
She made-
Nobody
she made the
personally
comment
invited
that
me.
you were the only one
Well,
that showed
because
up.
I was the only one that read Facebook, I guess.
Well, I don't have social media, so what I'm saying, if you want people to come, the council, either email them or come, have the office get a hold of us.
I went there simply because they saw.
no,
it
I
on
think it's
Facebook.
awesome that you're there. I think the
Yeah,
point,
no one's saying.
I think the
that.
point Councilor McGinnis is trying to make is she stood there accusing us of not attending, except,
Right,
well, I didn't know about it. I would have gone, well, first if I had the time, but
Hey, we go
Yeah,
to
yeah.
the dinners over there. Does
No, I think
anybody
that's-
personally invite you?
no, but
No.
it's well advertised. I don't have social media.
Oh.
So,
Okay, it's fine.
yeah, well,
That was the end of the common themes that we had. We had noted, so I know that there's a motion if we want to get into having those discussions, or if there's anything else you want to direct me to do.
yeah, I
We
mean,
have a great team here to help.
I think we need to revisit some things on the,
yeah, I think we're open to making changes. I mean, we've heard feedback from the community, some very well warranted, some we agree with, some
We
some
don't.
I agree with, some
right,
I don't, but I think that there's an opportunity to make some changes. So I guess from a process piece,
and then I think whatever changes we do make, we send it to our solicitor to have him oversee everything.
Yes. So if you want to take time with the bylaw, reviewing the comments, and then you'll submit your feedback to the staff, and then we can prepare another draft. Based on all of those, I don't know how that will be difficult, not knowing where you are sitting on different.
Could we set up another structured meeting specifically for this task?
Yes,
Because the first one we did, I think, was 3 hours. That's what got us to here. This one, if we did it, wouldn't be as long, but it would get everybody at the table at the same time to voice the same opinion as opposed to everybody getting,
Yeah, I think it's worth the conversation.
Right, now we had some legal advice on it also, so. We
yeah,
can,
you'll probably take time to digest that, and reread everything, and then. Okay, so I'll send out a poll to see when we're available to meet.
so is this bylaw gonna be, this resolution gonna be,
It won't be necessary.
okay. So what do I do with it? Just defer this?
Yeah.
Should I read it?
Yes.
Okay. So moved by Featherstone, second by Clark, that the Corporate Service Committee recommends to council the following amendments should be made to short-term rental bylaw.
Hang on.
We just changed it from Clark to Corbett.
Yeah.
Yes.
She stepped out with a conflict.
So we're, yeah, that's a good one.
Mhm.
So we're just gonna defer this. All in favor for deferring? Carried. And then moved by Corbett. She can stay there.
Yeah, Scanlon.
She can return to me if she's just in the back.
No, she's gone.
Oh.
So moved by Corbett, second by Featherstone. That's meeting be adjourned at
8:30.
8:30. All in favor? Carried.
Oh, yeah.